Okay, so similar to video game experiences, this next project, practically, these are both practically turned into much bigger projects. Video game trends is also very large in scale. So I'm going to try to do my best to get through it as fast as I can, but still cover everything exceptionally well. So let's just start off with the document. And then I should include a video section here because I do have a little time lapse of how I created the design. But yeah, so this document is really more like it's large. It's 25 pages. It's 5,000 words, which is pretty good. It's more like me listing things though for the actual like. This is more like the research kind of stuff that I was doing in order to make the diagram for the video game trends. And I'll show some more background stuff on that as fast as I can. So we'll just get through this document really fast. This is me listing just the different interests that I had in terms of what I wanted to cover. So like these are all the different like things that I might be interested in covering for trends and just the genres, and then there's mechanics as well and player types, like going back in time and looking at the first split screen game or the first cooperative multiplayer game or something like that. So, and then developers and publishers, maybe looking at like a specific developer or specific publisher. And then some other things like these are kind of interesting: movie-based video games, video game-based movies. These are all ideas. These are all ideas to explore, and I explored a good amount of them. It takes a very long amount of time, depending on how deep you want to go, to do just one of these things. And I made a huge list, and I put so much on myself to do that it hurt me, but I still got a lot done when it came to this stuff. It just doesn't seem like it because I only knocked out, 4 of these, for example. But I dived really deep into them. Still took a lot of time to design, even. Just doing the design took some time, but we'll get to that. So yeah, and this was me breaking down each genre and tag. So like genre tags, and then these are them. So then I get to breaking each of them down. So battle royale, rhythm music, parkour, open world, stealth, all of these ideas that I was listing out here. A lot of ideas being listed out here. And then elements mechanics just being listed out again right here, along with player types being a little bit branched out right here, as you can see, with specific things. And developers and publishers that I was kind of interested in maybe looking at. And then the other stuff, and maybe a couple of specifics in these. Oh, I like this Crowdcat right here. Crowdcat is a great YouTuber who looks at very interesting stuff in terms of the games industry. Resource channels. Oh yeah, these are great. These are great resource channels right here. All of these. Definitely take a look at those. Anyways, and then this was me narrowing things down, like removing some things from each section in order to get to a point to where I felt comfortable being able to tackle these, even though this is way too much to confront and try to get done. Even if I had just this project to focus on over the course of the term, I probably would barely be able to complete it, even if it was just the only project I would focus on. So yeah. And then this is me diving into Battle Royale, which is somewhere in here. It should be in the genres, but I'm blind and I can't see it. So, but this is the very specific genre now, and now we're going to get very specific by going, doing our research, and this is a lot of research that it takes. It takes a lot of research to do this stuff. So Space War, and then I went to Bomberman, and so on and so forth. And this is me laying out how I'm going to. This is all the content that's going to go into the diagram, into the design. So we move on. There's a lot here. I cannot stress that enough. A lot of research went into this, and then we get to branches. So these are. This is the potential of branching off from each game into a new, because I wanted to make everything related. I didn't want to just do space games and then parkour games and then battle royale games. I wanted it to be like, okay, at the end of battle royale, like for each battle royale game, maybe it branches off into the next trend that I wanted to do. So this is me trying to do that. Like, from Islands of Nine, I could go to first-person shooters, and then from Fortnite, I could go to third-person shooters, and from there were some weird ones. Like, you can't connect everything. Like, look at this one, DayZ mod for Arma 2. So this is in the Battle Royale tree, obviously. And then a branch to get to canceled games was to go from DayZ to Dean Hall, who's I believe the creator of DayZ. He made the mod. And then he announced Ion at E3, which eventually got canceled. So this is how I would branch from this Battle Royale tree part over to canceled games using that. So it was a little interesting how I was thinking about how I was going to do that. And then we get to detailed branches for other things. So this is for space games now. So now this is my research for space games. And this takes a lot of work and a lot of time, and it's grueling. It's grueling. It can be meticulous. And so that's why I couldn't get very far when it came to doing this research on specific branches, is because it is the same thing over and over, and I have to find a way. I had to find a way of making it more creative and more interesting, or just stuck to doing. If I could have just done one branch and then been done, I could have been done after that. So yeah, and this is me listing canceled games right here. This is still this is still during development. I'm not finished with this. This was finished. This space game stuff was completely finished, and the Battle Royale branch was completely finished. And then I did get to another finished section right here: parkour, free-running, movement-oriented games / realistic platformers. I like that term, realistic platformers. So yeah, this is me listing. So I wanted to dive into canceled games and then esports. Those are the next research topics I was doing, as well as game mods, which I just have links for now. This is kind of like the development process, going from links to actually listing out the games to actually ordering the games in the order from, in timeline. And then maybe talking about them. And when I say maybe, it's because if you're talking about too much stuff, it starts to get ridiculous in terms of the diagram, and the diagram looks ridiculously condensed with content, which is hilarious. But yeah, and then this was for survival branch, which I started early, but I didn't get to later on. But that's not to say that, that shouldn't take away from the overall work, of course. But that still always gets to me. And then these were other branches that I was thinking of. And then E3, this was another thing I wanted to experiment with, was going into E3 and then dividing each publisher up at E3 and then going into their top games or something like that, and then putting that all into a timeline. There's so much here. Once again, just like video game experiences that I wanted to cover. I wanted to cover every corner of this stuff. But I could only get, and I shouldn't say only, because I still did a lot. I got to do. So this is the diagrams now. This is my first diagram on the left here. And I wasn't super happy with how just the design, I guess, turned out, even though at first I liked it. I don't know. I for some reason, it wasn't enough, and I wanted to do another design. So this was, I could have just turned this in and been done with it, but that's not me. I am very, very silly, and I will do this. So I turned it into this right here. And obviously, this section is ridiculously condensed that it should have been redesigned as soon as I did this repeat grid in Adobe XD here. But anyways, yeah. So this is the main Battle Royale branch right here. And again, I could have just finished this and been done with it and turned it in. And I'm very proud of how this design looked and turned out. And I can get into the design process in a second. Okay, so then this section here is huge, obviously, and these are all little branches right here, as you can see. So this is the main branch, Battle Royale, and then we have space, competitive multiplayer, and so on. And then we go across the row, and there's obviously just way too much to look at here. You'd have to change the way that you just see everything overall, or just not be able to see everything overall, because it's just way too much to take in. So I redesigned it to just show images with the text and the date instead of having this little text on the side. So that would definitely split the process down into a much more conceivable way of doing things and finishing it. But yeah, all in all, I'm still very happy with the work I was able to get done. Researching and doing the Battle Royale branch right here took a lot of time. And then doing the space branch right here also took a lot of time and research to do. And just doing this text right here is actually really, it can be time consuming because I have to make sure that this text fits this box perfectly. I want it to not go over, I want it to not go under, I want it to perfectly fit with the amount of content in this box. So that's another thing that I have to keep in mind when I'm working on things, and you can kind of see that when I'm doing my designs. I think I stopped recording once I got to that point of just typing the content in because it was not very interesting for the time lapse. But yeah, and then I also got the parkour stuff done right here, and I didn't get to images, which surprised me. But still, I don't think that should take away from the fact that this was still a lot of work that I did here. And I just have a hard time seeing that and being proud of that, even though I'm still obviously very proud of this. So yeah, that's where the future plans for this should be going. Yeah. So let's get to the time lapse really quick. This is the Premiere project right here. And there's a little speed test right here. This is just for me testing the speed of the time lapse and seeing how long or how fast it should be. And then these are all the clips right here compiled together. And I believe I made a note of this somewhere. Here, let's check it right now. So we go to this, and then we can go to my time lapse for the diagrams. And in the description, I put how much work there was. So this is a time lapse of 17 and a half hours of work at 20 times speed. So it's still an hour long at 20 times speed because it's 17 and a half hours of work. And the time lapse is pretty fun to look at. So here it is in Premiere. Replaying it in Premiere is actually not very viable because it will start to stutter like it is right there. But yeah, just wanted to show my Premiere workflow right here. Just keeping it pretty simple actually because it's just a little time lapse with a bunch of imports of clips. And just, I mean, this is another part of the process. It's a long process. You have to. I had to record through OBS, and recording through OBS, I want it to be high quality. But then, of course, having it be high quality. Let's close this. We can go here now because it's high quality. The imports here are huge in size. Originally, they were huge, but then I compressed them. I compressed them using Handbrake. And I could really quickly talk about Handbrake. Handbrake is a very useful tool for compressing videos. And I've gotten very skilled with using it. I'm very familiar with how to use it now. Let's just open this really quick. Just for example, using these different tabs. I would usually, same as source, constant frame rate, change this to maybe like 15 RF, depending on how much quality you want. And then, of course, placebo encoding preset, because it'll take the most time, but it'll also have the best compression. So the smallest size. Anyways, that's just a quick look at how I used Handbrake to compress all of this stuff. There's gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of video, just because it's hours and hours. It's 17 and a half hours of footage at a 10,000 bit rate, 1080p, 60 FPS stream. So that's its. Oh yeah, I have it right here. We can just edit this. This is me compiling all of the time and then adding the time together. 17 and a half hours of work total right here. And then we can look at the export right here. This is the compressed version. This is the uncompressed version. 3.5 gigs, 2.3 gigs. We can open up the compressed version. And we can start to see how my work was going right here. I mean, there's so much to look at, obviously. That's that's the theme with me, is that there's so much to talk about. There's so much to look at. There's just no time to look at it all. And the only place that it's all at is just in my head, man. It's just all in my head. Because I was the one that went through all this work and experience. So, yeah. Is this frozen? Sometimes I might have taken breaks, which is kind of funny. There'll be like times where it's just no moving because I had to take a break eventually. This is me just getting images. That's another part of the process that I take my time with is finding the perfect image that perfectly fits the crop that I have in the design. And then, if you go early on, you'll be able to see me actually constructing the design itself, and I fiddle with it for quite a long time. You can see like early conceptions of the design right here. This is very interesting actually to look at. I haven't looked at it in a while, but yeah. Let's wrap this up. That was the video, and we saw the document and we saw the diagrams, and Yeah, that's pretty much it for video game trends. Pretty much it, even though it's a lot to take in. So yeah, for sure, definitely consider all of that work that went into it. So yeah, this is a good example. This term has been a very good example of how a lot of work can be done on something, and that something can be shown, and it might not really help display the amount of work that went into it. So I really want to emphasize by doing these kinds of videos right here that I'm doing right now, and the time lapses, for example, and all of that behind the scenes work, because I really want to showcase that and how I created these things. So yeah, we're going to jump in really quickly to the Jonathan Blow lecture and notes and responses in just a moment.